You're inside the Press Box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your host, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
Vero Nation, how about it? Vero Beach is district champions one more time. It's good to have us back in the press box, and thank you for joining us as Vero Beach had a big district showdown last Friday night against Treasure Coast and come out victorious in the ball game. And boy, oh boy, what a game it was, Gary. We knew that Vero Beach had the potential to not only win this game, but they had the potential possibly to win this game big if they could make everything click well. Well, everything clicked well on Friday night.
Yeah, it was one of those games, Paul, where you say to yourself, okay, this team was 0-6. They won their two district games very easily, as well as we did. So now you're coming down and saying, okay, how good is this team? Because they played a very tough schedule. Mm-hmm. They played some of the best teams in the state of Florida. And we were like, okay, but you know what? So did we. And we took our lumps early, too. Mm-hmm. And we're going on a 4-game winning streak. And so we're kind of moving in the right direction, we keep thinking. But we needed this game as a barometer.
Yeah.
It was what I call that second barometer of the year, because in the first 3 games, we used those as a measuring stick of how good we are at that time, and how much do we need to work on, right, and what we need to work on.
Yeah.
You got to remember, when our first 3 games, we had a ton loaded front with a bunch of young kids. Mm-hmm. We had freshman quarterbacks, freshman wide receivers, freshman defensive backs. We had sophomores all over the place that were in different positions. And we took our lumps early as they matured. Mm-hmm. And going into this game, I really felt like we were going to win this game. I really felt it. I told you beforehand that it's not based on what I'm basing it on is what I saw our team do. Our team has matured. Our team is playing good football. I don't look at the rankings. I always told you in the past, it doesn't matter, because when you get to the playoffs, you're going to have to play everybody to anybody to win it all.
Right.
So, you can. So going into this game, I felt like our team looked like it was ready to play them.
And I think that was probably one of the bigger question marks, Gary, was would we be ready to play? Not based off of any talent level, just because we'd had 2 weeks to almost 3 weeks off because of a bye week, and then because of Hurricane Milton and schools being closed and whatnot. So you weren't sure, like, okay, are we going to come out with the same momentum that we had coming off the Booker T game, where, it was an exciting game, there was a lot of momentum there, and then the brakes got put on because of a bye week and then, of course, of a storm. So, yeah, and look, we came out in the beginning of the ball game, and we weren't as sharp as we thought we would be. We thought, okay, there's a little bit of rust there. Go into the locker room at halftime up by 14 points. You're 14-0. Wow, what a third quarter, though, for the Fighting Indians.
Well, the game starts on their very first series. They make the first miscue. Mm-hmm. There was a tackle by Deuce Montgomery, and then there was a recovery by Romeo Vargas. And all of a sudden, you've got excellent field position. Yeah, you're down in the red zone and very close to the first and goal. But you take that ball and we run it in. Yeah, we get our touchdown. It was a big series. We capitalized on their turnover. And in a game of this magnitude, you got to try to eliminate your turnovers and not let your opponent, because we know what they can do. When they get the ball, they take time off the clock.
Yeah.
And so you've got to take every possession you can steal from them, and you've got to capitalize on, especially in that position. So that was a good recovery, and a good score. And as you said, We had a dogfight that first half. Mm-hmm. It turned to 14-0 at halftime.
Yeah, it was. It was only 14-0, so you kind of feel like, all right, we have momentum, but we haven't pulled away yet. And you don't want to leave your opponent with any sense of hope that they can get back into this ball game. And of course, when you play an offense like Treasure Coast, your possessions are going to be limited, or at least you perceive it to be that way. Now, as Gary said, I mean, early in the ball game, you get the turnover. So you actually stole a possession you weren't really counting on there. And to be able to capitalize on that was huge, because the teams of Treasure Coast in the past, they don't make those kind of mistakes. And
no, they force you to make a lot of mistakes.
So there were a couple things that happened, that kind of set that all up, Gary. Was like, first of all, Treasure Coast doesn't usually get behind the chains. They're usually ahead in the count. They got behind because that was a 3rd down and long when that play happened. And so, we took them, our defense, I thought, did an excellent job of taking them out of their comfort zone. They did things that were very uncharacteristic of Treasure Coast.
Yeah, yes. And I think part of the problem is they're so used to having things happen their way that when a defense comes up and belts them and pops them right in the mouth right off the beginning, then all of a sudden you realize that, whoa, this is not the same Vero Beach team that we played in the past.
Right.
This is a better team.
Yeah.
We've got to have a better scheme and a better situation. And I thought our defense played the best game of the year. Yeah,
really, by all accounts, really pitched a shutout. I mean, Treasure Coast got the late score there to make it 34-7 at the end. But, by all accounts, I mean, the defense, I think if I remember right, in the 3rd quarter, our statistician, Rocky, had them at -2 yards in the 3rd quarter. That's how well the defense was playing.
For that quarter. Yes,
yeah.
yes. That was a great stat. I remember Rocky telling us at that time that, guys, they're -2 in offense in this quarter.
Yeah.
And you go, whoa.
That's shocking.
It's shocking, yeah.
It's shocking.
And but I thought our kids did a good job. I thought that Deuce and Vargas played both ways. Mm-hmm. Champ played both ways.
Yeah.
You had a lot of there's your your offensive line, your defensive line. Those guys are all playing on the same level, and they're out there. And the question was the stamina. How would they last?
Yeah.
How would Deuce and how would Champ playing and Vargas playing?
They've proved that, I think, now over the last, 3 ball games or whatever.
And I'm going to tell you something. Those guys didn't want to come out.
No.
And if we had Vargas as our offensive player of the game, but he could have been as easy as defensive player, too.
True.
But I remember Derek asking him on the sideline.
Actually, he was our defensive player of the game.
Well, he was our defense.
Champ Mons was,
yeah. Offense. There you go.
Yeah.
But I remember Derek asked him, are you tired? And he looked at Derek in his eyes and he goes, yeah, I am. But I'm glad we won.
Right.
But I am tired.
Yeah. Well, victory can heal wounds pretty quick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a fun game. For anytime you win a game with a big team, the fans in the stand were enjoying it. Our listeners were enjoying it. We were getting all kinds of, you were getting text after text about how the Go Vero, the Indians looking great and all like that. And people texting me and telling me, hey, we're watching this game in Minnesota. We're watching this game in Tennessee. We're watching your guys play up and we're in Michigan. So we got fans all over the country and all over the world that are tuned in for our games, and that's a fun game to bring it to them when you're winning that well.
Yeah.
And Paul, I just can't get over how good Champ Mons is.
You and I were thinking the same thing.
I mean, folks, for a 14-year-old kid. I've never, in all my years of broadcasting, from high school to college to the USFL football seasons, and I've not ever seen a rookie in college, or you just don't see these kind of kids. A 14-year-old that comes out and throws the ball as well as he did. Paul, he was 14 of 19 and had 3 dropped balls.
He did.
3 dropped balls.
Mm-hmm.
He had 177 yards, and he stood in that pocket, did his progression. Ben Hall was back at center for him.
Mm-hmm.
They had that rhythm going. He never had to worry about dropping the ball.
That's true. That's a good point.
And then or trying to go high for it, because Corbin did a great job when he was in there.
He did.
But he's not. He's the guard, and Ben's the center.
Right.
And with Ben Hall in there, he had a chance to go through his progression. And I think the best throw of the night was he read short, medium, and the opportunity, whatever it was there.
Yeah.
And he hit Stinson on that pass that was like in a 1-yard window. And
it was
Stinson
on a rope.
was off it was a rope. It was, folks, that was great protection by the offensive line to allow him to read. Great call by Lenny, and just the way, Lenny calls, he'll tell you and I that I call a play, and Champ and I have talked about how we're going to do our progression before we even run the play in practice. What are we looking at? And I guess Lenny Jankowski had to be one of the most proudest guys because he hit a rope on that for 71 yards or something?
70-yarder.
70-yard touchdown to Stinson. I mean, that he caught it, he ran. I mean, it was a combination of protection, the quarterback, the receiver. It was just a beautiful play, and for a 14-year-old.
Well, I agree with you. And yardage wise, 177 yards on the night for Mons passing. Not a lofty number by any stretch, but a lot of that had to do because of the way the defense was setting us up. We had short field most of the night. I think what I was really impressed with Champ Mons in particular was he threw for 4 touchdowns, 4 different receivers caught a touchdown.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. He hit his running back out of the backfield on a wheel route down the side. He had Jacobs with another wheel route type deal on that pass play. Of course, Stinson had that big play he had, and then he had Marcus
Melbourne.
Marcus Melbourne, thank you. And that young man dropped the ball early.
Yeah, he did.
And you would you think he would freak out.
Both him and Lance Fort.
And that's exactly right. And I think Stinson put a hand up on one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And he should have ran underneath it. That was a catchable ball.
Yeah.
And that would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
But the thing about what Melbourne did, he was mad at himself. He knows he's such a good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back and he has 5 catches and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a sophomore. That's the kind of talent Vero Beach is developing, and they're young.
Yeah. Well, all of those guys, except for Lansford. Lansford is a senior.
Right.
But you got Melbourne, you got Jacobs, you got Stinson. Those are all juniors and sophomores right there.
Exactly. And freshmen. You got a freshman well, that's right. We got him on defense now, but
you're talking about Woods?
Woods, yeah.
Yeah,
Woods
well, I'm just saying
passes,
who caught a pass
in
this ball game, and
you're right.
who caught a touchdown.
Right. Exactly.
You're dealing with one senior, a junior, actually 2 juniors, and a sophomore.
As our late Ronnie Self, our buddy, would say, you're absolutely right, Paul. You're absolutely right.
But yeah, I mean, and look, the ground game it wasn't a lot, but it was effective. Champ Mons, again, one of the leaders on the ground, uses his legs when he needs to. Had 12 carries for 35 yards. Lansford had 5 carries for 26 yards on the night. Overall, we put 89 yards on the ground and versus 177 through the air. But you can't say enough about what the defense did to set the offense up. And Coach Jay talks about this all the time, especially when we talk to him on Tuesdays when we're in Coach's Corner at Cap's Pizza, is talking about complementary football. And that was a prime example of that. Defense doing its job to set up the offense and giving it the most opportunities. Special teams doing what it needed to do to help either A, flip a field if it needed to on a punt, or B, Kynes was, I think, perfect on field goals. Or no, 4 for 5. That's right.
He had one block.
We hoped he was going to be perfect because it would have been a running clock.
And that was a block kick that came in on and he got that one on him.
Yeah.
That's so.
So, it's just one of those deals. But like I said, to Coach's point, when all three phases of the game are working together, and Gary, we've talked about this before. I like to add the fourth phase, which is coaching. And I think coaching was very solid in this ball game. Both sides, they called a very good game.
Well, you look at Vero Beach, because the field position, we only had 42 plays.
Yeah.
42 plays, and we had in the first half, we were 2 out of 4 on our drives in the first half.
Yeah.
Second half, we were 3 out of 4. As you said, what a great third quarter we had, and we put things together on that. And we only had 2 punts, and boy, did he do a good job. Wetmiller.
Yeah, Wetmiller.
Whoa.
That was a little bit surprised. Now,
Wow.
Coach Jay, we got to have a conversation because he kept that one close to the vest because we didn't even know.
Well, we had White punting, and we had our quarterback Mons.
We had White, we had Mons. A couple times Kynes got in there and punted a little bit. So it's like we had no idea that Wetmiller was going to punt. Boy, when he booted it, oh my goodness.
2 kicks, 92 yards. That's a 46-yard average.
Yeah.
And they weren't rollers. We were totally shocked with and again, when I say that, it's not taking anything away from Wetmiller. It was the fact that we hadn't seen a kick like that all year on the first one. That was a spiral that went boom, about 48 yards or something. And I'm looking at you and you're looking at me and we're going, wow, where's that been?
Right.
And then the second, he only had 2. He averaged 46 yards a kick. Wow, what a weapon that turns out to be for you, too.
No kidding, right?
Yeah.
So it was like I said, it was a good night. If you're a Vero fan, you loved what you saw on the field all the way around. And the most important thing is, or actually I should say, there were 2 key factors in that game, Gary. 1, you got the win. 2, you stayed healthy.
We're healthy. And we got people recovering, and that was, you're right. And again, and then we got an opponent we're playing this week that is struggling. Mm-hmm. They're, as historical a team as Palm Bay has been over the years.
It's shocking to see this.
It is shocking. And so you can't say, oh, well, we're going to just go in there. But you got to prepare yourself to play a team that's 0-8.
Yep.
That they don't have much of an offense or defense.
Nope.
And we're going up to their territory to play them on Friday night. They're 0-8, and again, it should be a game where Vero gets to play a lot of guys, especially going into you got a bye week the next week.
Yeah, because of the state extending the season due to the storms, trying to let other teams have other programs have an opportunity to get a makeup game in if they need it. Vero most likely, based off of what we're hearing right now, is that we're probably not going to try to schedule an extra game. We'll just take the time to get ready for the playoffs. So yeah, we're basically getting an extra bye week in the season now. Yeah,
and again, it's another one of those 14 or 15 days you get it between your games or so like that. So
well, if it's anything like what we just saw, I'll take it.
Yep, I will too.
Wow.
But we're not going to let our guard down with Palm Bay. We're going to go out and do what we've got to do. It's a game where you fine tune yourself. This will be your last chance to participate in the regular season before the playoffs, and we won't know the playoff situation. We are in the playoff.
We're in. With the district title, we're automatically in.
Yeah, so we don't know whether we're going to be in a 4 seed or a 3 seed at this stage of the game. And right now we're a 4 seed, and Jupiter's right ahead of us at number 3. And they may stay that. So that means we would open up against the 5 seed, who was Toho out of Osceola County.
Yeah, it just depends on.
But we don't know how well they're.
Right.
That may change.
That most likely probably going to change.
Yeah. So we won't know who we're going to play until Saturday, the following, not the 9th, I think it is, 7th.
Yeah, somewhere around the 9th. The 7th is a Thursday, so it would be the 9th. Actually, the 10th is they do a show on Sunday morning. The state does a show where they do the reveal of the brackets, so that's when we'll really know for sure.
Well, okay. I was under the impression that Lenny said that we would know Saturday, but you're right. They've always done that Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Or Sunday morning, they have a big show, and kids would come down to the.
They generally group up in the cafeteria and watch it online.
And who they're going to play and everything.
Which, anybody can watch it. It's usually available on YouTube. Yeah. I think they do a Facebook Live feed as well.
Florida High School Athletic Association.
FHSAA is where you can find it. So, so we won't, like I said, we won't really know exactly who our opponent is until probably that Sunday morning. But, most of us football nerds will be digging through trying to figure out who it's going to be, and we'll probably have a decent idea who it will be. But nonetheless, it doesn't really matter. If you want to make it to the state championship, you just got to play whatever team's in front of you and move on.
Well, that's just it. You've got to be prepared. The most difficult thing is that you don't know who you're preparing for until they have that show. And then the following Friday is the game, or Saturday or Sunday.
You don't know, you don't know who you're going to prepare for. But I got a feeling, knowing Coach Jankowski and how he likes to look at things, he's probably going to take a look at a few teams that he speculates will be our opponent, and he'll start watching a lot of film on probably the 1 or 2 teams that would probably most likely be our opponent. I know the man too well. He's gonna start scouting. I won't say he's scouting right now, but I guarantee you he's already kind of contemplating who our opponents possibly will be for the playoffs, and he'll start working a plan here before too long. So,
but with that being said, we have Palm Bay Pirates coming up on Friday night on the road at 7:00. They're 0-8. Indians going in at 5-3 on a rig run of 5 straight wins. Momentum going our way, and we need to keep it going, keep it rolling.
Yeah, we do. You're not going to talk about the college game at all?
Oh, whoa, only because, listen, the reason he said that, and I was trying to get by that, Miami kicked my Seminoles' tail this weekend. Miami showed why they're in the top 10, and they're actually probably going to be.
I was nervous for a little while. I was nervous for a little bit.
Yeah, before the kickoff, maybe.
No, I mean, look, that was another one. It really did not break open until the second half, and it was one of those you're kind of like, oh, Miami, don't let this one slip. Don't let it slip.
I didn't get to see it, thank goodness, because I was broadcasting our game up into UCF, and which we took one on the chin too, and
you did.
We didn't see that come. BYU's a good team. Now let me tell you something. BYU is close to being a top 10 team. They were physical, very very disciplined. Didn't make a lot of mistakes. They forced you into a lot of mistakes. Mm-hmm. They did a great job of on Jakari Brown, our quarterback at the time, not allowing him to run, forcing him to be a throwing quarterback, which he doesn't do that good a job yet. And so we struggled. Then we brought in the 4th-team quarterback, Dylan Risk.
He played halfway decent.
He scores 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And you just, college is a funny game about there's no cliche that I've heard, and I've used it myself. If you've got 4 quarterbacks, you don't have none.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You don't have one.
Yeah.
You got 4, you don't have one.
Yeah.
And so,
Unless you're Steve Spurrier.
yeah. But we're having trouble finding that field general for us out there right now. And
It is tough. It's tough. And I mean, you and I could do a big, lengthy podcast all about just the state of college football and how that controls everything.
You're right. I want to say one thing about Miami. Cam Ward has become the accepted leader of that team. His 1 year in.
100%.
And he has won his team's respect,
Yep.
leadership role, his ability to make the plays.
Mm-hmm.
He is Cristobal trust him. And I'll tell you right now, they're a team to be reckoned. And I look for I really look for Miami to play Clemson for the ACC championship game.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's going to be a great game. And now Pittsburgh's undefeated. You can't take that away from
That's
them
true.
yet.
Yeah.
But they still got to play Clemson, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or they got to play.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I know they still got 2 good games left to play.
Yeah,
2 good opponents.
Miami has Georgia Tech, and they've got Syracuse still on their schedule.
Yeah.
But I think based off of what I'm seeing that they should be able to win those games.
Yeah,
But
it's fun watching Cam Ward. Even when he did, I went back and saw the highlights of what he did against us, and at Florida State. It's he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, he is. Well, man, I had a pretty good weekend. My high school team won. My college team won. My pro team won against the Cowboys last night.
What was the final? I didn't even watch it.
Gosh! Now you put me on the spot here.
I know at one time it was 3-0.
It was. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it was.
I didn't mean to do that to you. I just thought when you
they won by a touchdown. I think. Yeah, they won by a touchdown. I know that.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, Dallas made an effort, and then late in the ball game, they came back, and I got a little nervous there. I thought for a minute they might tie it up, and we might have to go to overtime, but. Instead, that defense for 49ers held.
You know the thing I like about the 49ers, I love the 49ers, the way they're making. I love their coach. I think he does a great job, and I love the way that you got the cheapest quarterback because he was a Mr. Irrelevant.
Not for long.
Yeah, and he is getting paid $700 some odd $1,000, and everybody else is making around him $40 or $50 million. And this young man it goes about his way, and he's a good quarterback.
30-24, that was the final.
30-24. Wow, that's a good game.
Yeah.
That's a good game. But I like him. I like your tight end, Kittle. This was tight end.
Yeah, how about you, old tight end Paris?
Yeah, there was a touchdown of mine floating around, and when I played in the NFL as an old tight end, catching a touchdown pass, and my daughter calls me and said, "Hey, happy tight end day." I didn't even know.
Yeah, George Kittle. He started that like about 6 years ago or whatever. It actually kind of started as a joke. And but you know how in the NFL now there's mics and everywhere, whatever. And so he was on a sideline talking to somebody, whatever, and made a joke about they ought to have a holiday, to call it tight ends. And there you go. They went from there. So yeah. What's interesting was I was watching SportsCenter, and there was something like. I want to say like 17 touchdowns yesterday by tight ends. By tight ends.
Yes. Yeah. Kelsey and all those guys, they contributed a lot of tight ends. They had I was impressed with the tight end McBride played for, who did my Dolphins play yesterday? They lost. Dadgummit, I was trying to think of that, but that tight end they had, McBride, my goodness, he can catch a football and did a really good. did a good job. Boy, because man, when you lose, you just forget about everything.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
Or it could be a senior moment, but
oh, well, there is that. There was those. Weren't there were a couple of hits in the NFL that you took, right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Who'd you guys play yesterday?
Yeah, well, we got beat. They kicked the field goal, I think, to beat us. And
oh, you played the Cardinals. That's who you played.
Arizona.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna tell you, Kyler Murray,
your other former team.
Yeah, Kyler Murray threw the ball well.
Yeah.
And how about Daniels' play?
Oh, yeah.
Daniels of the
Hail Mary.
The Hail Mary.
My goodness.
And that hardly ever works.
I know. Unless you're Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. But he throws that ball up. Now, they need this touchdown to win the game.
Right.
And he throws that ball up. And you never let a receiver get behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always a good chance that ball's going to flip back.
Right.
And you're supposed to knock it down.
Right.
They tell you, knock it down. If you can intercept it, but knock it down.
Yeah.
Well, they batted it like they're going to knock it down. It went backwards right into the guy's hands.
Yeah.
And that place was crazy.
It almost looked like that's how they drew it up.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
almost how they look.
Wow.
Yeah. It was funny. All right. Well, enough football talk for now.
Yeah.
We'll come back at you next week with a little more as we get set for our game against Palm Bay for Vero Beach High School. And Indians on the road this week to finish up the regular season. Our broadcast will begin at 6 p.m. with countdown to kickoff, and the kickoff will start at 7 p.m. If you can make it, hey, we'd love to have you there. If you can't, obviously you can either watch it on our YouTube channel, Vero Nation Network, or listen to us here at Christian FM. Gary Parrish, Paul Tipton, Inside the Press Box. As always, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the Press Box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.